to Barca News. It is May 23rd, 2026. And ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona's president, Joan Laporta, has fired back at Real Madrid. Also, La Masia Wonderkid is set to participate in the preseason. And finally, one of Hansi Flick's staff members set to leave at the end of this season. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Bo, and we are a few minutes away from the 2025-2026 La Liga season's final match, Barcelona versus Valencia, or I should say Valencia versus Barcelona, final match of the season, which of course is always very bittersweet. On one hand, I'm happy we are champions. On the other hand, it is the end of the season. What the hell am I going to do from here until August? But anyways, we're a few minutes away from there. Of course, I'll do the post-match live analysis once that match is over. But let's begin the news with some huge, massive news. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the best women's football team in the entire planet, the Barca Femenino, have won the Champions League, or the Women's Champions League final a few moments ago. I think the match ended 20 or 30 minutes ago. But the Barcelona Femenino have defeated Olympique Lyonnais 4-0, completely destroying them. And with this, the Barca Femenino have won, well, their fourth Champions League in 6 seasons. Fourth Champions League in 6 seasons. An absolutely insane achievement. The Barcelona Femenino, again, undoubtedly the best women's football team in the entire planet. Now, of course, this means that the Barca Femenino have just secured another historic treble. They just won the Women's Champions League. They had already won the Women's League, or La Liga F. And of course, they did win, I think it was last weekend, the Copa de la Reina, or the Cup. Not to mention, they had also won the Spanish Super Cup. So Champions League, League, Cup, and Super Cup. The Barcelona Femenino finish yet another historic season. The best women's football team in the world by far. And I'm not saying that as a Barca fan, but that is an absolute fact. 4 Champions League in 6 seasons. That's insane. Another historic treble. That's insane, ladies and gentlemen. This is not normal. I know we've gotten used to it because they're so dominant, but there is nothing normal about what the Barcelona Femenino do. It's absolutely out of this world. Anyways, let's move on to the next bit of news. But of course, first we have to congratulate the Barcelona Femenino on this amazing achievement, on another amazing achievement. But let's move on to the next bit of news, because the Barcelona president, Joan Laporta, has fired back at Florentino Perez and Real Madrid. Now, we've been talking about this for several days now. Of course, Florentino Perez did go on that unhinged press conference where, instead of assuming responsibility for the total disaster that Real Madrid is on the pitch, with their failed sporting project, the stadium is a total chaos, the club owes a lot of money. Instead of assuming responsibility for his failure as a president and for running Real Madrid into the ground, he, of course, decided to blame all of Real Madrid's problems on the refs, on Negreira, saying that Spanish referees are getting rich because Barcelona are bribing them, and that they stole, I think it was 7 La Liga titles from them. This, of course, has gotten Florentino Perez in a lot of trouble, with the Referees Association filing a legal complaint against Florentino with the Royal Spanish Football Federation Disciplinary Committee. But they have also announced, which I talked about it in yesterday's video, another lawsuit, or another legal complaint, this one with the Anti-Violence Commission. And this one doesn't only include Florentino Perez, but also Real Madrid TV and Real Madrid TV and the Real Madrid Club. So 2 current lawsuits against Florentino Perez for going on and that unhinged press conference and not taking his meds. And while Joan Laporta has now fired back at the Real Madrid president with the following statements. Everything related to the Negreira case, which isn't even a case, is falsehoods. And I think they're doing it to create a smokescreen and divert attention from the fact that they haven't won anything in 2 years. They're using Barca to cover up their failures. The club is still studying these statements to respond in the appropriate forum. I like that. They're using Barca to cover up their failures, which is an absolute truth and a fact. Now we continue because Laporta said they've invested a lot and still haven't won anything while we keep winning. We've won 2 league titles in a row, 2 Super Cups, and a Copa del Rey. When they use Barca for their problems, we react and we react forcefully. We have a great coach, a staff that works well, and a team that people really like. This Barca is once again striking fear into our rivals. So Laporta making it clear that everything Florentino Perez is doing is nothing more than a smokescreen to distract away from their failures, because they signed Mbappe and they were supposed to win everything. They didn't. They went on a 200 million euros spending spree, signing Huijsen and Alvaro Carreras and Mastantuono, and they brought all these players, still nothing. And instead of owning up to it, of course, they use Negreira, which, as we know by now, there's nothing there, right? The Treasury investigation has already closed, stating that there's no evidence of any corruption or bribery or influence in the competition. We still have the investigation by the prosecutor's office. 3 years has passed, not a shred of evidence of any wrongdoing. And even if, let's say that, yes, Barcelona were bribing referees through Negreira, that ended in 2018. Mr. Perez, how do you explain your failures these last 2 years? You can't. Because the reality is, you messed up. You effed up. Be a grown-ass man, admit it, and figure out a solution rather than coming up with excuses. Now, of course, for me, as a Barca fan, please continue to use Negreira as an excuse. The more you keep using that as an excuse, well, the less you focus on actually fixing what's wrong with your club. So please, be my guest. Now, on to the next bit of news, and this is a little bit of bad news because, ladies and gentlemen, one of Hansi Flick's staff members will leave at the end of the season, and it has been confirmed by Flick himself during a pre-match press conference, and it's no other than Thiago Alcantara. Now, as you know, as soon as Thiago Alcantara announced his retirement, Flick called him up and asked him to join his staff in the summer of 2024. He did it, of course, because they have a good relationship, right? Flick coached Thiago back when he was at Bayern. Also, Thiago, an incredible midfielder back when he was active. And also, Thiago had come up through the Barcelona Academy, so he was familiar with the inner workings of the club. He also knows Spanish and German, so Flick hired him, for his expertise as a former player, for that, to help to be his translator, and of course also to help him understand the inner workings of FC Barcelona. He came to the club in the summer of 2024. He only spent the preseason, and then he had to return to England due to tax purposes. And then he came back again in the summer of 2025. He spent this whole season with Flick, the staff, and the team. But now it looks like Thiago is leaving. He's going to do his own thing, probably coaching. We'll see what that is. But this has been confirmed by Hansi Flick in a pre-match press conference leading up to the match against Valencia, which is set to begin in a few minutes. So Thiago Alcantara, bad news, of course, but very thankful for the season that he spent with Flick, with the staff, helping our team achieve the La Liga and the Super Cup, and helping our players, train, practice, and get better. So thank you, Thiago Alcantara, for the time you spent with us, and good luck on whatever journey comes next. Now, speaking of Flick, the staff, and training, we do have to talk about another big news, and this one is that Hansi Flick has called up no other than Ebrima Tunkara to participate in the preseason with the first team. Now, we've talked about Ebrima Tunkara on the channel previously. 16 years old, winger, incredibly talented player. He has pretty much everything that you would imagine a world-class winger could have. Physicality, speed, tactical ability, great shot, good eye for goal. I mean, you name it. Ebrima Tunkara is considered one of the most promising players in the academy. One of the most promising players in the academy. I'll say that again. A very, very promising winger. And, well, Hansi Flick has invited him to participate in the preseason. Now, Ebrima Tunkara has become the third youngest player to debut with Barça Athletic, by the way. The other two being Messi and Guille Fernandez. Ebrima Tunkara is the third. But that just goes to show you, this guy is definitely playing way, way ahead his age. I mean, at 15 or 16, he should be playing maybe in the Juvenil B, but instead he's already debuted with Barça Athletic, and this summer will participate in the preseason. Very, very exciting times, ladies and gentlemen, because our academy, La Masia, continues to be the best academy in the world and continues to produce amazing, amazing talent. So I cannot wait to see what Ebrima Tunkara does during this preseason now that he has been officially invited by Flick. Now, let's end today's video with some interesting news because Jules Kounde, ladies and gentlemen, did not train with the team yesterday. Today, he is not part of the squad. And this, of course, has started to generate, some gossip, some rumors about, is Kounde leaving, right? There's been a lot of talks about Kounde maybe leaving given his decline in form and performance this season. He apparently only spent 15 minutes during that dinner with the team and the staff after becoming champions. Now, yesterday didn't train. Today, he's not part of the squad. And of course, this has raised a lot of questions. Does this mean that Kounde is leaving? Or is it just, we're champions. The World Cup is right around the corner. So he probably doesn't want to, risk getting injured like what happened with Fermin Lopez. I want to hear what you guys think. My opinion, I think it's just that. I think it's the World Cup is a few weeks away. Why risk it when we're already champions? But some people think that this could be, an indication that Kounde could be leaving. But of course, I want to hear you guys' thoughts. So let me know down below in the comment section. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up because, of course, Barcelona start playing in 3 minutes against Valencia. Final match of the season. And we'll do the post-match live analysis afterwards. So I'll see you guys there. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, Visca Barça.